When shopping for groceries and essential items, we often visit a grocery store or supermarket that is convenient. Many factors we look for when choosing a grocery store are often product freshness, stock availability, low prices, value, and good customer service. As we all know, Walmart is the largest supermarket chain in the world in terms of revenue. But it wasn't long ago when other stores like A&P and Pantry Pride dominated the grocery store market. In today's video, we've decided to take our top 10 videos to the fascinating world of forgotten grocery store chains. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Number 10. Colonial Stores. Colonial Stores were a chain of grocery stores that operated primarily in the South. It was founded by combining two grocery chains, Little Star Neighborhood Groceries and Big Star Supermarkets, both owned by National Food Products. They introduced the familiar rooster-shaped logo on August 3, 1947. In 1962, the chain relaunched the Big Star Market nameplate as a low-margin discount grocery store. All the company's stores were sold off or converted to Big Star Markets in the 1970s. Number 9. Mars. Mars Supermarkets was a local chain of grocery stores that operated in metropolitan Baltimore, Maryland. It was started in 1943 by Joseph Deanna and opened on Old Eastern Avenue in 1943. A second location was soon opened in the 300 block of Eastern Avenue. The business was sold to his younger brothers Angelo and Carmen Deanna, giving 50% to each brother to help expand the business. Mars Supermarkets is not affiliated with the Mars Incorporated, which manufactures the chocolates. The name Mars came from a nearby airplane that was being developed by Glenn L. Martin called the Mars Flying Boat, which could take off on land and in water. Between the 1960s and the 1990s, the chain opened a total of 10 stores, with 3 additional stores opening in Glen Burnie, Woodlawn, and Edgewood, Maryland throughout the late 1990s. Mars purchased produce and seafood daily from local markets and always included local produce, when available, from Maryland growers. Angelo Deanna passed away in 1995 after serving as the company's president for 50 years, and it was passed to his brother Carmen Deanna, who passed away 2 years later in 1997. Carmen's eldest son, Vito Carmen V. Deanna Jr., became president at the time. In May 2016, Mars announced that all 13 stores would close by July 31, 2016, with 5 locations being acquired by Wise Markets. The company stated that they have struggled with declining sales for several years and that they tried to fill the remaining 8 locations with other retailers. Number 8. Kohl's Food Stores. Not many people know that Kohl's was first a grocery store before it branched out to operating department stores. The first Kohl's food stores were opened in 1946 in Wisconsin. Most of the Kohl's food stores were known to have arch roof-style buildings, often with curved beams extending with anchors planted to the ground. Many of the earlier stores were built with floor-to-ceiling glass, while later stores cut down on the glass surfacing and replaced it with opaque paneling in bright colors. In 1962, Kohl's would open its first department store and continued expanding it throughout the state. The chain had up to 50 locations at its peak in the Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana areas. The grocery stores were eventually sold to A&P in 1983, operating under the same name before being changed into Kohl's Food Emporium. Kohl's food stores would continue to operate until they were closed in 2003. Number 7. Alpha Beta. Alpha Beta opened its first grocery store in 1917 by founders Albert and Hugh Gerard in eastern Los Angeles County, California. The name was derived from a marketing concept used in grocery stores by organizing the groceries in store in alphabetical order. The company was purchased by American Stores in 1961. Skaggs Drug Centers bought American Stores in 1979 and assumed the name. The combined food and drug stores in Alpha Beta territories were renamed Skaggs Alpha Beta. In 1984, American Stores bought the Jewel Companies, Inc., which had owned Osco Drugs since 1961. Also that same year, all 34 Alpha Beta stores in Arizona were sold to Abco Foods, and the stores continued operating under the name until the stores were rebranded in 1989. In September 1991, Skaggs Alpha Beta rebranded its 76 stores in Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Arkansas as Jewel Osco to unify some of its subsidiaries under one nationally recognized name. In 1994, Yucaipa Companies, then owner of the Alpha Beta chain in Southern California, purchased the Ralph's Grocery Company. All existing Alpha Beta stores in Southern California were rebranded as Ralph's or Food for Less, and the Alpha Beta name ceased to be used by September 1995. Number 6. Eagle Food Stores. Eagle Foods was a chain of supermarkets that operated in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Wisconsin. It was founded in 1893 as Tenenbaums by the Tenenbaum family in Davenport, Iowa. It started as a small neighborhood market that specialized in fruits and veggies, and by the 1930s, it became an important part of the grocery business by allowing self-service at lower prices. In the 1960s, it had two different owners with Consolidated Foods Corp., who operated Piggly Wiggly, purchasing the company in 1961. Lucky Stores would acquire it from Consolidated 7 years later. By the 1980s, the chain operated a total of 136 stores and had sales of $1.2 billion. And by 1987, Lucky Stores sold a majority of its ownership to Odyssey Partners. By the 1990s, the company found out it was unable to compete with other chains such as Jewel Osco, Dominick's, Hy-Vee, Walmart, and Kroger. Eagle would eventually sell 5 of its Chicago area stores, leaving 90 stores in Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana. The company went into Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March of 2000 and ceased operations in 2003. Many of the stores were acquired by Hy-Vee, Kroger, and Albertsons. Number 5. Bruno's. The company began during the 1930s as a market that opened in Birmingham, Alabama by Joseph Sam Bruno. The store would grow to 29 stores by the 1950s and became a public traded company in 1971. In 1972, Bruno's opened its grocery discount chain known as Food World, followed by warehouse-oriented consumer foods, which became more profitable than the old Bruno stores. In the 1980s, the original Bruno stores began to phase out, and Food Fair would eventually replace Consumer Foods. Food Max stores were also introduced around this time. Bruno's would acquire Piggly Wiggly Southern in 1988, which operated stores in Georgia. Bruno's banner also started to be reintroduced in some stores in the 1990s, along with converting some of its Food Max stores to Bruno's banner. In 2009, the company entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization, in which the company closed some stores and was also put up for auction. The Food Max stores were the first to be closed and sold off. The company Bruno's itself was acquired by Southern Family Markets, along with Food Fair, Food Max, Food World, and Vincent Markets. The names Bruno's and Food World continued to be used by Southern Family Market up until 2012. Number 4. Dominick's. Dominick's was a Chicago area grocery store chain founded in 1918 by Dominick DiMatteo. The second store would open in 1934, followed by its first supermarket store comprising of 14,000 square feet in 1950. The family would later sell the stores, which were 19 at the time, to the Cleveland company Fisher Foods. The DiMatteos, however, continued to operate the chain under the financial backing of Fisher Foods. Under the new ownership, the chain acquired 24 stores from Kroger, plus a 462,000 square foot distribution center from Kroger in the 1970s. The ownership, however, ended after the DiMatteo family purchased the chain back. The chain expanded throughout the 1980s and 1990s and improved its stores by adding one-hour photos, bulk foods, video departments, and pharmacies. The stores were acquired by Safeway Inc. in the late 1990s and struggled to keep the chain's market share, competing primarily with Jewel Osco. By 2013, all the locations were closed, with Milwaukee-based Roundy's purchasing the majority of the former locations. Number 3. Food Fair Pantry Pride. Food Fair was founded by Samuel Friedland in the 1920s as the Reading Giant quality price cutter. The success of the first store led to the opening of more stores, and by the 1940s came the introduction of the name Food Fair. In 1958, Food Fair purchased Setzer's Supermarkets, a 38-store chain in the Jacksonville, Florida area. This was followed by the J.M. Fields department stores. Food Fair later purchased a small Philadelphia chain called Best Markets. Best's private label was called Pantry Pride. The Pantry Pride store debuted on August 26, 1964, as a discount store approach. Stores under the Pantry Pride became more popular than the Food Fair brand, and by the early 1970s, Food Fair had converted most of its stores to the Pantry Pride banner, and the company's popularity grew further. In 1978, Food Fair entered bankruptcy and was sold to Grant Gentry, and it emerged from bankruptcy after closing all the J.M. Field stores along with 200 other stores. By the 1980s, Pantry Pride acquired Devon Stores and the 400-store Adams Drug Company. The company would be acquired 5 years later by investor Ronald Perlman, and the Virginia division was sold to A&P around this time. The 1990s saw many of the stores being renamed Woolies, while the remaining stores were closed by 2000. Number 2. Bi-Lo. Bi-Lo was formed by the former chief executive of Winn-Dixie, Frank Outlaw, after purchasing 4 Greenville, South Carolina grocery stores from the chain Wren in Syracuse to create the Wren and Outlaw chain in 1961. The company was officially named Bi-Lo in 1963 after conducting an employee store name contest. The company was sold to Ahold, which was a Dutch retail food conglomerate in 1977. Ahold would purchase the 55-store chain Red Food Stores, Inc. in 1994 and convert all stores to Bi-Lo the following year. Bi-Lo would debut a discount grocery store in the early 2000s known as Food Smart in Camden, South Carolina. Ahold would sell the chain to Lone Star in 2005, which turned around and sold off 104 locations in areas where the chain did not have significant market penetration. Lone Star would put the company up for sale in 2007, and Bi-Lo would file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March of 2009. Delhaize Group, owner of Food Lion, announced that they wanted to purchase the chain but soon pulled out as Bi-Lo emerged from bankruptcy in 2010. In September 2013, Bi-Lo purchased 22 Piggly Wiggly stores in South Carolina and Georgia from Piggly Wiggly Carolina. The following day, Bi-Lo agreed to sell 7 Bi-Lo locations in the Charlotte, North Carolina region to Publix. On June 9, 2020, Southeastern Grocers announced the decision to no longer operate stores under the Bi-Lo banner. As part of an effort to reach that goal, Southeastern reached an agreement to sell 62 stores to Food Lion. Following this announcement, Food Lion acquired additional stores in North as well as South Carolina. Later in September 2020, Alex Lee Inc. acquired 20 Bi-Lo stores located in Georgia and South Carolina, rebranding them as KJ's Market, IGA, and Lowe's Foods. The remaining unsold stores were closed in 2021, ending the 60-year run of the Bi-Lo banner. Number 1. A&P. The forerunner of A&P was founded in the 1850s as Gilman & Company by George Gilman as a leather tanning business. The company entered the tea and coffee business in 1859, and by the year 1861, Gilman turned over the tanning business to his brother and started focusing on the tea business. 2 years later, the company became a grocery store. A&P grew quickly, and by 1878, there were 70 stores in operation. Gilman would later pass management to George Huntington Hartford. The company operated nearly 200 stores by the year 1900, and the number grew to 1,600 stores during Hartford's ownership of the company. A&P was the largest retailer in the world in the 1930s, with roughly 16,000 locations, causing backlash from the local mom-and-pop grocery stores that could not match the prices. During the next few decades, the company declined since it failed to keep pace with competitors that were larger supermarkets with more modern features. As a result, the heirs of the Hartford family and the Hartford Foundation sold A&P to the Tengelmann Group of Germany. Although the company regained profitability by the 1980s, it operated at a record loss in 2002. The company was forced to file for its second Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2015 after declaring a loss that year. By November 2015, all of its supermarkets were closed. So guys, this is it for today. If you liked today's video, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment below if you know of any other grocery stores that weren't mentioned in today's video. Thanks for watching.